Welcome back to the channel. Tune in or ghost out. First off, I want to say thank you guys for 4,000 subscribers. I don't want to get too sappy, but it means a lot and I appreciate it. And it's one of the only highlights of my week. As you've probably heard on the weather forecast, we're supposed to be getting a terrible ice storm that's going to hit the entire East Coast, which just happens to be the coast that I'm on. And by the time this video is uploaded or the time you watch it, we'll see how good those forecasts are. I'll either be frozen in an ice cube with no power on, or I'll be at home chilling with the heat on. I'm really hoping that it's the second option because they're talking about like 50-foot icicles, watch out for the Yeti, got snow up to the wall. And you know what? That just makes sense. That's like probably the only way you could top off a week this annoying. I'm a pretty simple man and it's pretty easy to make me happy / not piss me off, but I don't know. This week took a toll. It's like I woke up on Monday on the wrong side of the bed and I just was not able to fix it any day throughout the week. Monday started off on some bullshit, I'm not gonna lie to you. First thing that I'm hit with is a client canceling on me as I'm driving to their house. As I told you guys, I do a little bit of mobile mechanic work, so I was going to change the brakes and I'm not even 15 minutes away, bro, and he's talking about no, I just have to cancel randomly. No heads up, no nothing, confirmed before I left, and it just randomly on a dime just cancels. So I'm already annoyed the entire day and I just keep seeing posts about this ice storm. Like Sunday nobody said anything and now Monday it's the only thing I'm seeing, and I'm just brushing it off because I have the first aid kit, I got the perishables, like I'm not really worried about it, but I just see it everywhere and I'm thinking like they're probably wrong, you know. There's no reason for me to really panic. Fast forward to Tuesday, I'm driving, randomly car overheats, no reason, just old BMW problems, car starts overheating. I pull over to let it cool down so I can actually try to fix the problem, and tell me why like 4 police officers pull up as I'm trying to fix the issue, telling me,
you know you can't park here, right?
You know you're not allowed to park on the side of the road like this, right?
I try not to think too much of it. The first cop, I was nice and respectable. I was like, yeah, this is the situation. And bro was pretty cool. He was like, okay, I understand. And he left. Not even 10 minutes later, another one pulls up. And I'm thinking in my head, like, are none of them using the radio? Has nobody mentioned, hey, there's a guy on the side of the road, but he's cool. His car's overheated. The second one comes out. Bro's like a circle. And I'm not one to talk about anybody's weight, but bro is like waddling to the car. Once again, smoke coming from the hood. I have the hood popped. Like I'm obviously not doing anything crazy. Gives me the same spiel. Oh, you know you're not allowed to be here. Yada, yada, yada. I explained to him, but this time he's a little more like,
all right, but you know you're not supposed to do this.
So he leaves. Another one pulls up not even 5 minutes later. This guy's even worse than the last one. He's trying to threaten me with a warning, acting like I'm doing it on purpose. Walking around my car trying to look through the tint. Luckily I had the front windows down. In Georgia, you're only allowed to have your windows tinted like 35% or something, and I have everything blacked out. But he didn't see that, so he left a little madder than the rest of them. And by the time the fourth cop came around, it wasn't even him. It was just the fact that I already explained this 3 times, and I told him, and he was cool about it. He's like, yeah, man, it's not you. It's just we have more people just sitting on the side of the road lately, and you know, we're trying to make sure that doesn't happen. And he was being pretty cool. The situation was fine, but I was already not having a good day prior to this. Again, I woke up on the wrong side Monday, and then what happened Monday just set a bad pace for the rest of the week. So after like an hour and a half on the side of the road, I can finally check what's wrong with the car, and I see that the coolant reservoir just has a massive crack down the bottom of it. So the last time that I filled it up, everything basically was leaking onto the floor, hence me having no coolant and the car overheating. And in the back of my head, it's pissing me off because again, it's a vintage car, so I'm gonna have to go on Facebook and argue with the other BMW sellers in the area because everybody knows everybody. And if you know anything about Facebook and Facebook Marketplace with car guys, they're gonna overcharge you because they know you need the part. So a $15 reservoir any other time, they're gonna try to run you up like 30 because they know you need it that day. And I know 30 bucks isn't a lot, but it's purely the principle. But again, I put enough coolant and get the car back home fast enough to where the leak isn't letting it overheat, and I'm able to take the other car, and Tuesday ends off no worse than it was already going. And for the most part, Wednesday and Thursday were pretty decent. The only bad part was on Thursday when I went to the farmer's market to grab some sweet potatoes. I'm a sweet potato fiend, but as I was checking out at the farmer's market, the car declined. And it wasn't even that big of a deal that it declined because I feel no shame. Like I'm not okay, I just won't get the sweet potatoes, but there were some pretty good looking girls around me, so I was a little embarrassed, but luckily I had just enough cash to cover my $6 in sweet potatoes that I went to get, so we didn't fumble too hard, you know. They didn't laugh at me too hard. Yeah, but for the most part, Wednesday and Thursday, can't complain, right? Better than Monday and Tuesday, and that's all that it's worth. But I noticed by Friday that the problems that I was facing weren't even that big of a deal. I literally just woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and instead of doing the work to get over over the things that I was feeling and get over wanting to feel bad, I let my bad emotion that started the week navigate all my decisions throughout it. And that all came to a head Friday. Like I said, this whole week was filled with nonstop reminders of this ice storm that's supposed to hit. And people are talking about 4 inches of ice. You're going to get 20 inches of snow. You're not going to be able to leave your house, and the power lines are not going to work. And oh, be careful about your roof. And I didn't pay too much attention to it because I've gotten into the habit of keeping an emergency kit just in case something ever does happen, especially after COVID. If you guys remember gas running out and toilet paper running out, I always just never wanted to be stuck in the position where we didn't have the things needed, but I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just blowing off the warnings. And I looked through all the inventory of the stuff that we had, and I looked through the perishables. Those were good. I looked through some of the portable charging packs. Those were decent, need to be charged up. And then when I got to like the most important thing, the flashlight and like the floodlight, tell me why both of them had no batteries. One of the flashlights, I kind of knew why, because we took the batteries out of the flashlight to power the remote, because it's not every year you get an ice storm this bad. But as far as the floodlight, like those are like the huge triple or quadruple A batteries. So I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, I have everything I need. I am prepared for the situation. I'm ready for the storm, but I just don't have the batteries. And when I said that to myself, it kind of was putting more things into perspective, but I wanted to be airheaded and not pay attention to the mistakes that I was making so I could be mad at the situation. And I started huffing and puffing, knowing that I had to go to the store the day before a storm in Georgia. And I knew it was going to be fun. I knew it was going to be crowded, and the traffic, oh man, I knew I was going to suffer. But I reluctantly get my jacket and get ready to head out to the door. And I'm like realizing that no matter what I do, I can't stop being annoyed. I get in my car, I feel annoyed. I turn the music on and I try to find a song that I like. I'm going through the Golden Collection. I'm playing Juice WRLD leaks throughout the entire car ride. Songs that I love, and I just have my hand balled in a fist the entire drive. I don't know why. It's like my brain already wrote off the entire week, and everything that was going wrong was just adding to that fact, essentially. But I get to the Walmart, and again, hate shopping at Walmart. If you know anything about me, it's that I hate going to grocery stores in general, unless it's the farmer's market. I know that sounds very performative, but yeah, no, if I'm going to the grocery store, it's gonna be at like 6 a.m. or right before it closes. I don't like to be there when there's people. I'm way too conscious of how much space I take up and where I'm going all the time, and I hate being there, so I'm constantly like speed walking, and I feel like I just look crazy, so I just avoid high traffic at all times. But not today. I'm going in the middle of the day on the one day that everybody in the state is going to these stores. But I go inside, and the first thing that I realize is that I'm screwed. Everything is basically gone. I saw like 3 to 4 cop cars outside, and it made sense once I got in the store because it looks like they just ransacked the place. But as I'm squeezing in between families with full carts to the brim and just random people everywhere, trying to avoid all the smells and just all the wild stuff that was going on in that store, I go to the electronics. Nope. I go to the computer section. Nope. One person told me to look in between the automotive and tire section. Nope. But I did get some air fresheners there. And then my last hope was to go to the checkout lines or the self-checkout, and hopefully they had them there because I remember seeing them around that area. But guess what? No. And just as I was about to leave, I was in the front of the checkout and I looked at the fridge, you know, the drink fridge, and I was just staring at the Coca-Cola with so much intent to buy and drink it. And one of my resolutions this year was to cut down on my soda intake very heavily. I've been doing that a little bit, but this year I wanted to limit it to like very strict holidays or family events because it's not good for you. You shouldn't be drinking that stuff all the time. I try to rationalize it, but I picked up this really bad habit of when I was at work where I would just before or after work, depending on how stressed or annoyed I was from that day, I would go to the gas station and get one of those big cups and fill it with a Coca-Cola or ginger ale. Surprisingly, I don't know, I could drink endless amounts of ginger ale, and that just got me into a terrible habit of drinking sodas. I'm good off the energy drink, but I'll fold for a Coke. And I sat there in that Walmart flustered that I couldn't find the batteries, annoyed by how bad it smelled, and just anxious by how many people were there. And I almost opened the door to grab that drink, but I just knew, I was like, I'm already mad. I don't want to be disappointed too. So I promised myself that I would check one more store, and if it's the same result, then I would fold and I would get myself that drink. So I leave the Walmart, it's in a plaza, and I head to the Kroger's, which is on the other side of the plaza. And in between them, randomly, is like my childhood GameStop that is surprisingly still open. Ever since I've gotten a PC, I've had no reason to go to GameStop. But when I say childhood GameStop, this was the GameStop that I waited outside of for MW3, BO2, and I think the last one they did officially was Ghost. They might have done a couple others after that, but it wasn't on the same level as those years. But I thought in my head, like, let me go inside and see what they got going on, maybe play a game off the system. And I kind of thought that they might have batteries because somebody's sitting there with the Xbox 360 controller needing a pair. So I walk in the store and I realize how nothing has changed. Like, they have more plushies and toys, but essentially it is the same layout as when I was a kid, which I guess is a good thing. I was pretty surprised that they were still open, so that was a positive. And after I did some looking around, I went up to the front desk and I asked them, like, hey, I couldn't find the batteries. Do you guys have any? Bro was like, yeah, we have some, but we can't sell more than 2 per person, and they're in the back. Do you need any? And I said, yeah, let me get 1 set of AAAs and then, a set of the big ones. He goes back, he gets them, and I'm sitting there like pretty relieved. Something about that GameStop was just relaxing. I don't know. Maybe it's the nerd in me. But as he's ringing it up, we're talking about the weather. And he's telling me, he's like, yeah, man, I've just been working. It's been a very busy week. Surprisingly, even our store is busy with this storm happening, which I kind of found surprising. But I told him about how my week was going, all the small inconveniences I was seeing. And then bro started laughing, and I thought he was laughing at me, but he cleared it up and he was like, it's pretty funny you say that because my tire went out yesterday. And then he added on, what are you gonna do? You just roll with the punches. And bro was pretty cool. Rung up my stuff. After that, I headed back home. But as I was driving back home, and once I got home, I just couldn't shake off the fact that I had everything prepared for the storm. Just in case the storm even came, I had everything set up. I had the perishables, but I didn't have the batteries. And to me, that was very reflective of the moment that I was going through and the week that I was having. Because on this channel, I try to talk about self-actualization and building a personality for yourself and knowing how to deal with the punches of life. And I emphasize that you gotta have those tools ready and you gotta flex those tools. And then when I'm put in a situation of, small negative inconveniences, in my head, I have all the tools. I know how to express myself. I think I know how to reason, how to de-stress when I'm feeling very stressed out, and all these skills that I just thought that I had. But when the moment presented itself where I had to rise up and be better than my emotions, I just didn't have the energy to do it. I already counted myself out from when I woke up Monday that it's just gonna be a bad week. Like, today feels off and tomorrow's gonna feel off. And I never had a moment of letting whatever was bothering me leave. I essentially just kept trying to ignore it, even though it was festering into a bigger problem. And by the time Friday rolled around, I just couldn't get the anger off my face. Like, I was walking around stale-faced. I was answering very quickly. It was just unbecoming of me. And it almost pushed me to the point of breaking the commitment that I made to myself at the start of the year, which would have made me feel terrible. Like, I would have probably enjoyed drinking the soda for 30 minutes and then felt guilty the rest of the day. All because I couldn't give myself a little space to get over what I was going through. It wasn't even anything major, but I was just so stuck on being mad, and I kind of felt like I fell short. I'm glad I was able to catch myself at the end of the week before I did anything outrageous or before I took my anger out on somebody else. But as somebody who's had anger problems in the past, whenever they try to resurface when I think I'm all past them, it always kind of just makes me feel a little shitty, because I do put in a lot of work to overcome those problems. But that's kind of the thing. It's always a constant hard work, and sometimes I know why I'm doing it, and other times it feels like a burden to be done. But I guess I'm making this to say that no matter how perfect you think you have your method down or how well you know yourself, if you don't have the energy to utilize those skills, then you'll never really move to where you want to be. It's easy to get all the answers when everything's fine or stable, but it's different to utilize them as you're going through the moment. And I guess that's the real test of it all. Like I said in the last video, I'm not gonna feel too guilty about this, and I'm not gonna let the shame of this hold me back. I got 2 days of the world being frozen. I'm gonna reflect on my actions of the week and see how I could have better prepared and noticed what I was doing earlier than I did, and try to be better next time. And for what it's worth, I didn't fall off the wagon, so there is some positives. And I thought I'd share this experience because I don't want to make it seem like I just have everything down pat, because I don't. I still get mad, sad, everything in between. But it's a constant mission, But again, what do I know? I'm just an unemployed guy playing Call of Duty, share my opinion. And again, thank you for 4,000 subscribers. I made this channel on a whim, so to see everybody supporting and a lot of the regulars coming back in the comments, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys taking the time out to watch the videos, and I'm glad you guys are enjoying them as much as I am making them. If you agree or disagree, let me know down below in the comments. How has your week been? Do you think we're going to be frozen ice cubes by Monday? And how many rings does Jordan have? If you haven't already, like and subscribe to join the thread. And with that being said, thank you for tuning in. Until next time.